What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another tropical forecast here by Asian Weather Forecast. This is actually going to be a very early morning update on only Tropical Depression 13 as it nears tropical storm force winds here and could be tropical storm within the next coming hours. Right after this video, we'll be talking about Tropical Depression 14 in another video, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But Recon already found tropical storm force winds here sustained here for Tropical Depression 13, so we could have Laura possibly at 11 o'clock here. We're really monitoring this very closely here, and we are really watching the Gulf Coast as this is expected to possibly make landfall in the Pensacola and Mobile, Alabama area. So really watching out the eastern Gulf here. Florida, you guys still going to be seeing impacts. We also have tropical storm watches for Puerto Rico, Windward Islands, and even portions of the St. Parish Islands as well. So we have some very big updates as we can very well see tropical storm Laura extremely soon. Again, could it be a hurricane when it makes landfall in the Gulf here? But before we get into the video, please subscribe if you're new, hit the like button, and hit the post notification icon so you get notified as soon as I do a video. But without further ado, let's get in this tropical forecast. So here's a look at the National Hurricane Center, and here we have Tropical Depression 13 and Tropical Depression 14, and then even that other disturbance here off the coast of Africa. But 13L is now still at 13L and at 35 miles an hour. But very interesting, Recon just found over 55 knots for sustained winds here. So that's very interesting. Could this definitely be a tropical storm? It had the structure. It is trying to close off as a dryer got into it last night, but really has a ton of blowing up convection right now. Very interesting to watch. Maybe could have an LLC later today here, which could make it officially Laura. But there it is, moving west-northwest at 21 miles an hour. So expected to avoid a landfall here for any of the islands ahead of this, and could actually avoid a lot of land until it affects possibly the St. Parish area, and then expected to possibly hit the far western panhandle or the Alabama coast. So could be a very interesting landfall here. Not really the typical landfall you see in August. But there it is, Tropical Depression 13 here. We got 14. We'll be talking about that later today here. Possibly could be a hurricane for a Texas or Louisiana landfall. But there it is, Tropical Depression 13, not too far off the Windward Islands there. It is located at 17.9 degrees north and 59.2 degrees west. And it is 1,008 millibars. They actually found, I believe, 1,007 millibars on Recon. So let's actually check out satellite imagery here and see how organized this system is, and could it be closed later today. So here's look now at Tropical Depression here 13 on the satellite imagery. This is actually the far northern Windward Islands here actually. So this is actually the U.S. and British Virgin Islands right here. It is actually the far northern Windward Islands where we have tropical storm watches in place for these areas, also including all of Puerto Rico, including San Juan. But as you see, this thing got a big blow of convection earlier this morning, very early. And it looks like it's definitely trying to close off. That is for sure here. It's actually looking way better closed wise than it did earlier. As you see, kind of yesterday or earlier this morning, it was really opened up. Low pressure was pretty much open here, and now it's really trying to close off here, really trying to connect everything, trying to connect all the dots. So where all the system is, where the low pressure is right here, that it can be closed off from all this dryer. But starting to see some big blowing up convection here for that far western part there of that of the system. But definitely looking pretty good. It could be losing a little bit of convection, trying to find a new center. I wouldn't doubt if this is going to start being a huge blow up convection, and that this convection kind of dies off, and then this will be the new epicenter of the convection. I would not rule out the possibility that actually happened last night. That's exactly what you see when you see blowing up of convection in one certain part and dying off in another certain part. It's because it's trying to find a new center. We even had some pinks pop up here, so that's very interesting. Let's check out the visible high resolution here on Tropical Depression 13 to see exactly whether we are seeing improvement here of this closing off. And this is what it looks like right now. It actually looked a lot better. I mean, this morning it was kind of really opened up here. Kind of see that inflow is getting in there. That's where that dry got in this low pressure. As you see, it was kind of really open right here. It's actually a yellow, shall we? It was kind of open right here, and all this dryer got in from the system. But it's really trying to close off here. You kind of see right there. That big blow convection could very well be closing this storm off here from that big open gap. But really looking a lot better. It may not have the most convection like it did last night, but it's really the structure as well. We kind of want this to close off here, but as you see, convection's kind of dying off right here. But I think this will be the new epicenter of this tropical depression here, closing it off to the point where it can get named maybe at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. Really watching out very closely here. So let's actually take a look at now recon here. So they actually went in this morning. They're still in the storm currently. They found around 11:03 Z time. They found up to 55, almost 60 knots, guys. 60 knots on sustained MSLP, which is what they use for the National Hurricane Center. Flight level is higher in the atmosphere, but look at MSLP. They found 60 knots, which is 70 miles an hour. Obviously, they won't use 70 miles an hour, but what I'm saying is they are definitely finding tropical storm force winds without a doubt here. And look, now they're starting to rise once again. We are now having around 45 knots currently as of the 10-second sustained winds gusts. So that's actually not gusts, sorry, 10-second second winds. As you see, they did find the strongest winds at that part here in that northeastern part. We found recently up to 50 to 55 knots there, and then getting closer to 60 knots at that point. And now they're going to be doing a second loop here, so it'll be very interesting at the end of the video where they are. So they could be heading right here to the big blow convection where they have not gone the storm yet. So we will see how strong this part of the storm is. Actually, you guys can actually see the winds here, how this works. But as you see here, definitely going to start doing another loop. It's going to be here for a couple hours now. It's going to do one loop here. It's probably going to do another loop here. And going to go into the center there. They're probably going to do multiple more loops here. But this is by far, so far, the strongest part of this tropical depression here. But we will see exactly. I mean, they have 1,011 millibars right now, but they found up to 1,007. So very interesting whether this will be going back up. Depending on, we're going to be seeing really just depending how strong this depression will be and whether it actually could definitely be a tropical storm. I mean, they have the winds, and the thing is, do they have the structure? So here's looking at the National Hurricane Center cone here, and as you see, tropical storm watch is issued for all of Puerto Rico, the northern Windward Islands, and even portions of St. Paris and the southern Bahama Islands here, as the National Hurricane Center expects it to be a tropical storm here rather soon, as early as 2 a.m. tomorrow, which is actually a little late in my opinion, and then making landfall as a hurricane for the Alabama and Florida border, actually possibly near Pensacola, Mobile, Alabama. That's actually going to really affect areas like Fort Walton Beach, Destin. You guys are going to get really impacted here, so it actually could definitely bring in some big impacts for the Eastern Gulf. And tropical depression 14 is here, and this could be affecting the Texas area, so we're going to have possibly 2 hurricane landfalls for the Gulf. But I actually disagree with the National Hurricane Center. I think this could be a hurricane maybe by Monday. I think this could be a hurricane by Monday. Like we might even see how strong it actually comes. But if they found 60 knots on sustained winds right now, this system depression could be a lot stronger than people anticipate it to. And you know, National Hurricane Center has a history, even this year alone, a lot of underestimating storms. So, not saying it's not going to be a hurricane or just category 1. I mean, this could definitely be a category 2, something like that, really. I mean, the Eastern Gulf is by far the most favorable region so far, with the warmest waters by far, extremely warm. And if it's going to be there for a decent 36 hours, I think this could definitely blow up. We saw Michael how it blew up, and that was in October, and this is August, closer to the peak here. But expected to possibly avoid a southern Florida landfall. Possibly going to go right in between the Bahamas, Cuba, and all that land, and then going to possibly make landfall in the Gulf. So this is the National Hurricane Center cone. So in the next 72 hours, we'll be right here. You know, we will see. This cone could definitely change multiple times. Because let's say we see this being a 60-mile-an-hour storm at the end of the day. I'm not saying that will. I'm saying what if it does. then this could definitely change this cone more to the north, because the stronger this is, the more north the cone is, and the more of a northern turn it will do. And the sooner that northern turn will happen, because you see that northern turn is going to happen right there in the Gulf. I mean, that northern turn can happen way earlier if it strengthens more. So really, it's going to leave this whole area in place still. I mean, I think that this cone should still be a little bit more to the east, in my opinion, including more of the eastern Florida coast. But we will see. It really depends what the National Hurricane Center has, because Recon isn't lying. They did find 60 knots on sustained. So that's something very interesting here to keep in mind. All right, let's check out now the advisories we have here. As you see, we have tropical storm watches for St. Martin, Saba, San Juan, Puerto Rico, Cockburn Town, airs near St. Parish. So the northern windward islands there. Guadalupe is almost just actually outside of a tropical storm warning watch. Sorry, Puerto Rico and the islands surrounding it. I wouldn't doubt if we get tropical storm watches very soon here for portions of the Dominican Republic coast right here, because this actually might go straight like that. So I wouldn't doubt if we get tropical storm watches very soon for the Dominican Republic. That's something we really need to watch out for here. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt if we even get tropical storm watches for portions of Cuba in the next coming hours here. But this is what we have right now as of 8 a.m. So this is 38 minutes old, and I don't think they update. I think they update it every hour. Here, looking at the Tropical Depression 13 model track guidance. As you see, almost every single model agrees basically on this. So actually, this might not be an Isaias situation where we really don't know anywhere. We only have two models that are showing something different. The UK model is going all the way to possibly Texas, and the semi going for a portion of North Carolina. But I think this is definitely the cone, though. This is for sure this most agreeable track. Possibly gonna avoid a lot of land. Gonna avoid the Windward Islands. Gonna avoid Puerto Rico. Gonna avoid Dominican Republic. Gonna avoid Cuba. Gonna avoid the Bahamas. Gonna avoid Southern Florida. So that means it has countless days of pure warm water. So I think definitely this will be stronger than a Category 1. I'm just gonna break it to you guys. I expect it to possibly be Category 2. Who knows? Some models should be in a Category 3. We will see. I mean, I think models are definitely underestimating this, including the National Hurricane Center. They have a history of doing it. Models like H-Warf and H-Mon, those are hurricane models, and they actually are specifically for hurricanes, and they are definitely bigger than a Category 1. So, as you see, models show mainly a landfall right on the Florida and Alabama border. Could actually affect even Apalachicola, Panama City there. Destin Beach. So if you're going to be heading towards the western Florida Panhandle, even the Florida Panhandle in general, I think you definitely might want to consider canceling those plans, unless you're going to go only for like 2 or 3 days. But after that 3-day mark, once you get to 4 to 5 days, that's when you're really risking it, because this storm is going to be a pretty fast moving storm here. As you see, from there, that's already 24 hours. From there, that's already 24 hours. So time is ticking if you will be going on vacation there. I would just delay it. I mean, it's not like this hurricane's gonna pass by. You're gonna want to go right back, because who knows how big this hurricane can be. Obviously, Michael was a Category 5. You can't compare this to Michael, but I'm saying maybe this could definitely be a lot stronger. Maybe you're going to wait this storm out because the National Hurricane Center says a Category 1. You're thinking, Category 1 is not that bad. But definitely, guys, just facts right here. The National Hurricane Center predicted Michael only being a tropical storm here, and it was a Category 5. Same with Irma. They also said that for Florence. I mean, there's countless storms what the National Hurricane Center has just busted out on this. So I'm not saying this is going to be a Category 5 or Category 4 or Category 3. I'm saying I think this could definitely be stronger than a Category 1, which means more impacts, which means obviously more damage and more concerns for safety. So just if you're going to wait this storm out, I would still be prepared, or even go to Georgia, further out in Alabama, something here, somewhere more inland. But as you see here, we do have a lot of tracks here. These are actually more widespread. Some still showing a landfall for the Keys, some maybe even Key West, some avoiding the Keys. But I think this could possibly make a landfall for southern Florida, if you include the Key West area and the Keys. But as you see, a lot of them maintaining north of Cuba, maintaining north of Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and then heading straight for possibly the far western Panhandle and even Alabama border there. All right, one of the most important things: intensity. What is the intensity? What is the forecast? Well, now 3 models get this to a category 3. 3, and now 2 get this to a category 4. And this one's going to get to a category 5. So, I mean, this is the stakes are rising for sure. Like I said, I'm not saying it's going to be a category 5 or 4. I'm saying I definitely see it being stronger than category 1. That is for sure. I mean, if Recon found 60 knots right now sustained, you're telling me this will only strengthen 15 miles an hour for 4 days in the warm waters, not barely touching land, only a couple islands. I'm sorry, that's absurd. But models all show this possibly being a tropical storm within less than 12 hours, and then those who show that get us to a hurricane in 60 hours here, maybe even a category 2 in 72 hours, category 3 in 84 hours, and then getting near category 5 in 132 hours, based on the models, not my opinion, or a couple models here, but the stakes are rising for sure. A lot more models are starting to rise, whether it's a category 1, whether it's a high-end tropical storm, category 2. I'm just saying more and more are getting this to a bigger threat here, and I think the National Hurricane Center models or some models are definitely underestimating this. I think by the time this hurricane strengthens to a category 2 or something like that, people who wait the storm out, it will be too late to leave. It will be too late to leave. It will. I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's kind of a hard position to stay because the National Hurricane Center, a lot of people look up to the National Hurricane Center. I can see why. Obviously, they're the National Hurricane Center. You're going to look up to them. You're not going to listen to a 14-year-old. But what I'm saying is the National Hurricane Center has had a history of underestimating storms. I mean, they say with Hannah. They said Hannah was going to be a tropical storm. It'd be almost a category 2. And it was devastating. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, they showed Isaias only being a tropical storm 50 miles an hour, I believe, at the first advisor, and it became an 85-mile-an-hour hurricane. I mean, there's multiple occasions this year alone. I mean, I'm really saying is I definitely disagree with the National Hurricane Center strength. Not saying Cone's reasonable, but strength. This will definitely, in my opinion, be over a category 1, whether it's a category 2, category 3, and so forth. But really, watching the strength closely, it's going into possibly 32 degrees Celsius waters in the Eastern Gulf when it gets there. It's going to avoid Hispaniola, going to avoid Puerto Rico, going to avoid Windward Islands, going to avoid the Bahamas, going to avoid Cuba. Only going to hit a couple little islands, including the Keys and portions of St. Parish. That's it. That is it. Really, if they found 60 knots, which is 70 miles an hour, as a tropical depression, and they issued this as a tropical storm, I see this track shifting a bit more north, and I see the intensity models blowing up. I'm just saying, expect that by the end of today. So let's check out the models, see what the models are saying. I mean, GFS, I don't even know why I even look at the GFS anymore, but GFS, it's kind of sad. They're doing decent with Invest 94L, or Tropical Depression 14L, but they don't even really show Tropical Depression 13 even forming when it may be a tropical storm currently as we speak. So I don't even know what I don't know what the GFS is even doing. CMC is also, I think the reason why a lot of the models are showing all the way over here is because they're showing it forming so late. I mean, look at the CMC, showing it possibly forming in 36 hours when this is most likely a tropical storm right now at the moment. Not a 40-mile-an-hour storm, maybe even a moderate to strong tropical storm. I mean, they found 70 miles an hour on sustain. I mean, that's crazy. But look at this, the CMC's showing a 988 millibar hurricane making landfall in the Key West and then strengthening a ton. I actually think the CMC is being reasonable for millibars. I think it's being really reasonable once it gets into the Eastern Gulf. I think they're really showing it forming later, but I think they're making a good comeback here. A 977 millibar hurricane, that is exactly what I think could possibly happen. A 976 millibar storm hitting the portions of the Panhandle. That's what I think is actually possible, which I'm saying the National Hurricane Center needs to wake up. They need to wake up. Look at this. I mean, you can't tell me this will only be a 75-mile-an-hour storm. You can't. Check out now the 10-meter winds, shall we, for this storm. I mean, look at that. That is not looking good at all. Obviously, tracks can change. I mean, intensity. I mean, I think intensity is pretty. I think we kind of all know what the intensity could be. I mean, definitely very significant strength. I think this could get to. It's just a track, but I think we kind of have a good idea on the track here. It's gonna be kind of this general area here, but either way, gonna be seeing some big impacts. Whether if you're in Destin, Apalachicola, even Panama City, you guys can see hurricane force winds. I would definitely watch out, and this could actually maybe affect me, but really that doesn't matter. I mean. But wow, this is crazy, guys. This is crazy. Check out the icon. Icon also showing the storm being the weak, so incredibly weak. I mean, guys, I don't even want to show icon. I'm really sorry. I think icon doesn't even get this below 1,000. Look at that. Icon shows this being 1,003 millibars. Oh my gosh, guys, that's pretty sad. That's actually like very sad. Nav Gem. Let's see what Nav Gem has. Nav Gem. Getting this to it. Oh, look what they have for 90, or look what they have 14.0. I think that's reasonable for 14.0. I think 14.0 could definitely be a hurricane here if it manages to survive in the Gulf. If it manages to get in the Gulf, because it's kind of over the mountains in Honduras right now. It's if it survives. If it survives, then it could be a hurricane in the Gulf. I mean, Nav Gem, you can even see the low pressure. I mean, Nav Gem track. I think the Nav Gem track's pretty unreasonable. I mean, you really think it's going to scoop all the coast like that? I don't see that happening. If anything, the CMC is correct on this, making landfall there. So if you're in Tallahassee, if you're in Jacksonville, you guys won't see effects. But if you're, or winds or anything, really, you might not even see rain if you're, just check that out, actually. Let's actually, see if that's correct. Yeah, I mean, if you're in Tallahassee, you might, actually, yeah, you're going to be seeing some heavy rain in Tallahassee, but yeah, I mean, based on the CMC, you guys in Tallahassee won't be seeing that many strong winds. But obviously, CMC is kind of showing this more eastward. I think it might make landfall actually near Pensacola and not Panama City. But wow, CMC is showing this, making landfall here in the areas of Panama City. It's something very interesting. Moisture and all that. Is there favorable conditions? Well, yes. There's drier. Yes, you're correct. But look what happens. This will be developing a moisture bubble as it strengthens, and then boom, right in the Gulf. Shear really isn't an issue in my opinion. I mean, or not my opinion, basically on facts. Because look at that. Look where that low pressure is. There's going to be up to 0 knots of shear where that low pressure is. And you're telling me this will only be a 75-mile-an-hour storm. I don't understand, guys. I don't understand what the National Hurricane. I know they don't want to overreact, but 75 is not just underreacting. It's super underreacting. But yeah, that's what we have here. Well, guys, we're going to have to wait and see, really. We're going to have to really wait and see whether these updates by the end of today and whether this actually will be a tropical storm the next coming hours, possibly 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock here. Really watching that very closely. I mean, they have the winds, but let's actually, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye, guys.